What up, everybody?
Hey, we here.
We sure are, and we're here to talk about the Oscar nominations for Best Picture.
This time it wasn't me.
That's right. My brother-in-law just texted me a video clip. Don't know what it is. I'll check it later. So, these are the films that are nominated for Best Picture.
Best Picture. I'm going to be honest, Justin seen them all. I have not. There's only two of them that I have not seen. I have not seen Little Women, and I have not seen 1917, but I have seen every other one. Are we going to go from bottom up or top down?
I think bottom up. That's
bottom up.
Sexier,
cool.
You know? Sexier.
Okay.
What's that weird?
No.
Yeah, I got the intrigue, the mystery of it.
Sure.
These are the films. We have Marriage Story, Parasite, 1917, The Irishman, Little Women, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Ford v. Ferrari, Joker, and Jojo Rabbit. Now, my number 9 film is Joker. I like Joker a lot. I love Joaquin Phoenix's performance, but based on all the other elements in these other films, I just don't think it holds up the same. That's kind of my main quick take.
Yeah. My number 7 is also Joker.
Hey.
I wasn't as high about the movie. I thought Joaquin Phoenix's performance was particularly fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think you take out his performance and the film overall doesn't quite hold up.
It's a good film, but
it's fine.
Not.
Yeah. I particularly
he definitely enhances it.
Yeah. I particularly found that the writing structure was not to my liking. I didn't really enjoy the way the story was laid out, per se. But the performance within it was great.
Yeah. Well, my number 8 is Jojo Rabbit. I like Jojo Rabbit a lot. It has a lot of humorous moments, some real gut punches as well. But again, it's one that I just really think they could have done more with what they were exploring in that film. It seems like even though they were making this film about a child Nazi, they played it almost a little bit too safe, which is tough to say. I kind of wish they had explored deeper into the psychology of these other characters. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. My number 6, I would have to go with The Irishman. For me, The Irishman is all these movies are good movies. They're all good movies. For me, The Irishman was just like a lot of these other mob movies that we've gotten in the past, even very similar to Scorsese's previous work. Again, I thought the performances were good, but we also had a conversation recently where we talked about we didn't really appreciate the de-aging aspect of it.
Yeah.
We would have preferred to cast younger actors in there, and I think that took away from especially the first part of the movie. But I love the second half. But for me, that first part, I had problems with it just experientially. So for me, I think it's a good movie. And it is really fun. The performances are great. It just lowers it below a lot of those other things for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get my 7 and 6 that we can be on the same page for number 5. My 7th film was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I really debated this with my number 6, but look, I actually really love this film. A lot of people didn't like it as much, I think because it's not standard Tarantino, but I think it's actually a really interesting reflection on the state of cinema today and kind of the Hollywood of the past that Tarantino grew up falling in love with. So I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in the film. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to watch it again for sure, but I just like the other films more. Sorry, Tarantino. Please cast me in all your films.
More.
Yeah. Number 7. Number 6, I have Ford v. Ferrari, actually, which kind of surprised me because it's not the deepest film, which is what I usually love. But I just found it was so entertaining. I'm not a huge fan of racing, but all the racing scenes, I was on the edge of my seat. I was really into it. I thought they just shot it well. Director was the same guy who did Logan, which is one of my favorite films. James Mangold. Yeah. And I remember I heard this on the Bill Simmons podcast, but he said sometimes it's cool just to watch stars be stars. That's kind of what this movie is.
Yeah.
You watch Matt Damon and Chris Bale, just be stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, okay. All right, so now we're at 5.
Yes.
My number 5 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We actually have very similar placings, even though mine are a little bit up because I didn't see them all. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I agree. I think it wasn't a typical Tarantino film, and I did like it. It was more of an homage. It was more of almost like a Hollywood fairy tale in a way. I know I had a friend of mine who was really upset about the way that they used Sharon Stone.
Really?
Not Sharon. Not Sharon Stone.
Not Sharon Stone.
Sharon Tate.
Yes.
Sorry. Sharon Tate. And so yeah, somebody I knew that was like, oh, I didn't. She's like, I didn't want what they did at the end, like with like the whole like she's alive type of thing.
Yeah.
Like I was like, for me, if this is an homage to old Hollywood, but also a fairy tale, he's basically saying like, imagine the world that could have been.
That's what he does in most of his films.
She can live on in this world now, kind of thing, as she should have originally, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, a lot of Tarantino's films are these kind of revisionist history endings, right?
Yeah, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, that last fight sequence is great. I just think I was more surprised by the other movies on these lists, like more pleasantly surprised by them. This one, my expectations were high and they were met, but a lot of these other movies, my expectations were kind of a little bit lower, but they were far exceeded, kind of thing.
And Brad Pitt, just the coolest motherfucker.
He
ever.
really is.
Yeah.
I do want to know, did he kill his wife? Don't tell me.
Yeah, just.
I think he killed his wife.
All right. My number 5 is The Irishman. Yeah, I actually, the more I sat with the film after first viewing it, the more I appreciated it. I think it's another one that, this might be a discussion for a separate time, actually, but I feel like some of our great directors are having this kind of nostalgic look back at their careers and at just what Hollywood was.
Yeah.
So this film in particular, I think, is really taking a look back at what he's done, what Martin Scorsese's done with his gangster films, and even just taking a look back at memory, which I think is really interesting. I listened to this podcast where they were talking about it and the de-aging in particular, and one of the things they brought up was usually when you're older and you are talking about a memory from the past, you're kind of envisioning yourself there, but you're also envisioning yourself as you are now, and so it's almost like this amalgamation of, and that kind of makes it a little bit more understandable. I don't know if that's a full defense, but I think it makes me appreciate the film more, at least. And,
I can understand that. I don't think that's what Scorsese was going for. I can understand, but I don't know. Right, I'm not him.
I think he was going for this idea of reflecting on your past. The one thing I wish is they made his daughter such an emotional button, and I just wish that relationship had been a little bit more developed.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Ford v Ferrari.
Ooh.
So very much like you said, for me, I didn't know what to expect from this movie. Like I heard it was good, but I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't expect to be as entertained as I was. Like it was a kind of like a smaller film that felt like a big film. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean smaller?
Oh, I mean smaller. Like it's
got Matt Damon, Christian Bale.
But
it's got a big cast.
But I mean, it wasn't like the subject matter. It was smaller.
Okay.
It wasn't as grand.
Okay.
But the way they shot it and the way it just felt like a huge Hollywood movie. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like an Avengers, like a superhero movie or like an action film, but it was action packed. It was exciting. It was thrilling. It was very entertaining. The performances in there were really good too. So like there was lots to love about it. But on sheer entertainment, it kind of like surpassed a lot of these things that I had some other issues with in these other Best Picture movies.
Okay. We're at 4 now, right? Yeah. Sorry, you said 4. My number 4 is 1917.
1917.
Now, these top 4 are all, I'd say the top 3 are all kind of interchangeable. I had a lot of trouble separating them. So I just went with what hit me more emotionally. 1917 is a feat of filmmaking. I don't know if we've ever seen anything quite like it, to be honest. You have to go see it in theaters. It just lends itself to that experience. I'm on the edge of my seat the entire time. It's a fantastic film. That's really all I want to say about it. It's really, really effing good.
What am I missing? I'm thinking I have 3. There's 3 more.
Did you see Marriage Story?
I did. That. Okay. Got it.
Marriage Story, Parasite, and Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah. Marriage Story was the one I was forgetting. So my number 3 is Jojo Rabbit.
Okay.
I was very, very charmed by this movie. I found it very endearing. Taika Waititi, director, and also the actor that played Hitler, I think found a very interesting way to approach this idea of child Nazis, and the way they did that thing, and the way that Hitler ingratiated himself to the youth, almost in a way, almost like a superhero to them in a way. And I think Taika really embodied that by being this little kid's imaginary friend. You know, he has posters of him on this wall. He fantasizes about meeting Hitler and having him tell him how great of a Nazi he is, and like the almost like a propagandist brainwashing that's going on there. And the way they navigate the relationship with the girl on the wall. And then there's that moment, that just kind of like gut punch moment with Scarlett Johansson, and what I didn't see coming in that, at least at that moment. I think it was funny, endearing, and I just loved my experience of it for the whole however long it was.
I like how Tarantino directed a couple of the scenes. We'll see if you get it.
Because of Inglourious Basterds?
No, I was saying because of the close-up shots of her feet.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah. Tarantino loves feet.
Tarantino, please cast me in your movies.
Yeah, you better be careful here, man. Some good editing here.
Number 3 for me is Marriage Story. And again, I number 3 or 2, it's really like 2 through 4. They're all kind of lumped together for me. But Marriage Story I thought was so powerful. I am a child of divorce. It was not as messy as theirs is. But yeah, it's just some of the most powerful acting and storytelling I've seen this year. The scene where Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson finally just kind of talk about everything and blow up at each other, and Driver says something so horrible, but then instantly feels that regret of it. It's all just so human. And I loved how there was so much anger and hatred in this relationship, and yet you could see that there is still love there and will always be love there, and it's just going to be shown in these different ways, like her cutting his hair or tying his shoe in a moment. And even I tried to describe the scene where he reads the letter to my mom, and I even right now I'm getting choked up. It's such a beautiful scene. It's such a great movie, man. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, my number 2 is either Marriage Story or it's Parasite, and it's Marriage Story.
No.
To mirror a lot of what you were saying, it's such a human look at relationships, and particularly a relationship that's coming to a particular end point.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna still have to interact with each other and have a relationship, but the relationship and the way that it was is ending. And I love that the movie's called Marriage Story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not about their like divorce or that they're splitting up. It's about their story of their marriage.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that kind of reflectiveness and the brutal honesty of like, it makes them both look bad in certain parts of the movie.
Yeah,
like their characters.
Well, it's gray, right? Which
That's
is
what I
how
loved
it
about
always
it.
how it all is.
That's what I loved about it. Is it's like it didn't paint either character as the right one or the wrong one. They both did things like nasty things to each other throughout this process, and so like, but at the end you still end up liking both of them. Like at least I do. I didn't dislike.
I just understand. You understand both of them.
Yeah.
I think.
And I'm not a child of divorce, so I don't have that quite in. But I can still feel a lot of that stuff. But definitely something that I think we all can at least sympathize with.
Yeah.
Sure.
My number 2 is Little Women, so we have the same number 1.
Oh my God!
Yeah, my number 2 is Little Women. I just loved this film. It's so pleasant and enjoyable, and yet there's such honesty and truthfulness and emotion, but it's not emotion that like pushes on you and makes you feel like they're jamming it down your throat. They're just letting it be. All of the people acting in it are fantastic. I particularly love Florence Pugh in it. She's wonderful as Amy, and I think you notice the starkest difference between the ages, because there's flashbacks throughout this film to their childhood versus when they're adults, and the difference between her as an adult and her as a child is very stark. She does a great job setting that up, and I just think Gerwig's direction is fantastic. The way she shoots every scene, the lighting she uses, the updates she makes to the story, and how she utilizes the flashbacks in the story. How is she not nominated for Best Director?
Honestly, I don't know. That's one I haven't seen yet. Yeah. But I am a big fan of Greta Gerwig as a writer and director. Lady Bird was one of my favorite movies of that year when it came out. Saoirse Ronan, who's also in Little Women, is someone I'm a huge fan of as an actress. It's definitely a movie I'm going to check out. I was actually just listening to a podcast today called Script Notes, and she was on it with the host John August, who's a screenwriter, talking about the process of writing it. It sounds fascinating, and it's definitely something I'm going to check out for sure. And I'm a little bit bummed that I have not seen it to this point.
And you should be.
Right, and I guess the cat's out of the bag.
Number one for both of us is Parasite.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead?
Parasite is one of the most viscerally intense movie I've seen in a long, long while. Not only is it like very entertaining, like there's lots of like great like tension relief with like the way the family interacts with each other that like you think is funny at the moment, but then as the movie goes on, you realize there's so much rooted underneath that like sarcasm and the way that they interact and the things that they're doing, like stealing Wi-Fi, and like it's funny at first, but then you realize how desperate and how rooted and kind of awful it is. And then obviously there's so many great like shocking twists and turns along the way that I didn't see coming, and so like it really took me along for this ride. And then where it ended up, I was just like, oh man, this is not where I thought we were going.
No.
But I was super psyched about it, for sure. My favorite movie of the year. I wanted to win Best Picture. I want this thing to be the first foreign film to ever win Best Picture.
Yeah.
It's got to.
Having seen every single one of these films, it definitely should. It should win Best Picture. Doesn't mean it will, but it's the best film I've seen this year. It's like, again, every element is being utilized. The editing, the performances, the story.
The score.
The score.
Is so eerie.
It's all... And the way that he shifts between genres so quickly, and yet it's seamless. You don't notice, or it's not jarring in the slightest.
No.
I also think it's such better commentary on society than a film like Joker is. I think this was Austin Hayden Smith from Owls at Dawn who said Parasite is the film that Joker wanted to be.
Shots fired.
Even with like the stair scene. And how Parasite does it so much better. I mean, we're definitely going to have to do an episode just on it because there's so much to talk about. I don't want to get into spoilers on this, but we'll get into it in the other conversation. We did, yeah.
But it didn't end up happening, but it will.
Yes. It will. But ultimately, yeah.
And Bong Joon-ho being one of the only people of color to get nominated for any Oscars this year, along with like Cynthia Erivo. Not too many people of color get nominated this year, and I'm glad that he got nominated for Best Director. Bong Joon-ho. Yeah. Definitely a great director. If you haven't seen his other films, go back and check out some of his other movies too, like
he's
Snowpiercer and The Host. Like, go check out Bong Joon-ho.
I need to watch The Host, yeah.
Oh, have you seen Snowpiercer yet?
I've seen Snowpiercer. I've seen Okja. I want to watch The Host and Mother or something like that. I don't know. I want to just work through his whole thing.
He's great. He's a fantastic director.
So that is our Oscar list, who we think should win, where we rank those films. Ricky's still got to see 2 of them, so we'll see if he updates that when he does.
I'm sure both of those films will probably get in the middle there somewhere. I don't think they're going to be at the bottom.
I would guess that 1917 is going to be like 4, because Jojo Rabbit's your 3, and you really held on to that. Actually, I think Little Women will be 4, and 1917 will be 5. That's my guess.
Awesome. Cool.
We'll see.
Okay.
All right, guys. Peace.
Bye.